Are you going to hold it the entire time?
I'm going to have to.
Okay. So, hi. Thanks for coming. Go ahead and do it. Like you please. I want to start today with a quote that I really, really feel resonates with me. And it's by John Locke, who is very famous and reputable for a lot of his works. Sorry, I couldn't get any books or anything like that for that. But it is, we are all born as blank slates, and only society corrupts us. I like this quote because when you think about it in the terms of life, we're all very impressionable when we're first born, right? We all kind of go through our own patterns, we find our own paths, we find what works for us. And your mind's forming, right? It's going on different adventures every single day. I'd like to start off by talking about a great conversation about life. Now, I like to think about life kind of in the analogy of a book, where we all have our own adventures that we're going on, we all have our own stories to be told and written, and each person is different and unique in their own way. I like to think of it this way because, well, I don't like the idea that there's a one shade fits all. I like 50 shades, maybe a little bit more. But on a day-to-day basis, we're bombarded with all of these notions of how we should think. Now, it sounds presumptuous, but I'm going to try to persuade you a little bit more. I'm going to persuade you to think about life as though there is no inherent meaning to it, no one single meaning for each and every person to follow, no end goal, so to speak, right? By doing so today, I'm going to walk you through what nihilism is, a little bit about what its fundamental principles are. I'm going to talk a little bit about subjectivism and its definition. I'm going to also talk about one of Kierkegaard's, what his views on the meaning of life is and why we're in existence. As well as why science says, well, it claims that we're alive. Before I begin, I just want to address that I do understand your skepticism on this topic, and I understand your, hesitation with it. Let's begin with nihilism. Nihilism, the word itself, nihil, it is of Latin origins, and it usually means, directly translated, nothing. Absolutely nothing. Nothing, it does not exist. It's found in words such as annihilation, which usually means to destroy something, which can give some unrest in, people's mindsets and such like that. Nihilism was originally a thing around circa 1860s through 1917, I believe, in Russia. It was said to be in accordance with a rebellious action at the time, a revolutionary movement that correlated that it was a rejection of the state and the church and a family. With that being said, it's a little tough to swallow that life is meaningless. That is said by Alan Pratt of Embry-Riddle University. Science. We all love it, we all hate it, and it all makes us question and think about, why are we here? Are we just atoms and molecules? Are we just things that are just water? Are we just on the planet for no reason? Science makes us feel really uneasy about why we're here. Michael Price of Cornell University, he's a senior lecturer in psychology. Now, he wrote an article for Psychology Today. Does science really say we are? Why does science really say we are alive? More or less, the gist of it is a direct quote: "Life is more likely than black holes or anything else, really, to be a product of universal replication." It sucks to hear that as a human being, and it hurts your ego to think that you're just another body. But it's not true. Just because you're a replication doesn't mean your life is worthless. It doesn't mean it's valueless. Baffling to some, to imagine this, but I want you to close your eyes and just think, life without an inherent meaning, wouldn't it be more blissful? Without having an end game and a goal? And it has to be a lot easier than having a conversation with, your mother-in-law, your mother, your dean of students, Dr. Phil, But I try to live well, as we all do. I try to live contentedly, and by doing so, I like to think about a thing that I've considered and coined New Age nihilism. Nihilism has its roots in anarchy. New Age nihilism, not so much. It makes you think that life isn't as pessimistic or as gloom as it sounds. Now I'm going to talk about Kierkegaard. Kierkegaard was a Danish philosopher. Couldn't tell you when he died. But according to Wendy O'Brien of Moorhead University, Kierkegaard's views were very hard to pinpoint, very hard to determine and figure out if he only thought of one thing and only in one way. It was difficult for people to find out what his opinions were on things because he wrote with so much satire and so much humor and paradox and irony that he evaded the natural questions. And he also wrote under a lot of different aliases, pseudonyms, if you would, just different names, so that people couldn't really pinpoint what his perspective was. One thing that was very prevalent, however, in his works was he was Christian, which doesn't seem to go along with the idea of nihilism very well, because Christianity usually means that your end game is heaven. You have a good thing that you're looking forward to at the end of this ride. It's heaven or hell. With nihilism, there's nothing. You're here and then you're not. However, one of my favorite quotes by him, and I will read this: "No part of life ought to have so much meaning for a person that he cannot forget it at any moment he wants." But it also states, on the other hand, that every part of your life should have so much meaning that you can remember it at any given time. How I translated this was, though life will have meaning or it shall not have meaning, each moment has to hold the same intrinsic value. Intrinsic value is just valuing something for its worth based on its individual worth. For instance, this water bottle. I don't value it because it's a water bottle only. I don't value it because it can help me. I value it because it's a water bottle. Or a person, rather, would be a better example. I value you as a person, and I will not compare you to a different person. And that's what intrinsic value is. And to think about documenting your life, though life can be looked at like a book, each different chapter is a different obstacle in your life, it shouldn't be documented in the sense that you're no longer enjoying it. Because if you're constantly writing something or trying to appease someone, you no longer are taking enjoyment out of things. You are too busy infatuated with, does my hair look good? Is this person accepting the way I speak? Do they mind if I do my homework while I listen? And it doesn't need to be that way, right? We should focus on pleasing each moment of on pleasing ourselves and on each moment of our life, but not think about the end. The end's not going to help you in the now. Michael Price of Psychology Today, he takes on the question of why we exist, the philosophical, hard-hitting question, and he breaks it down to a couple scientific conclusions, wrapping up to about, according to a physicist, Lawrence Krauss, something like that, it's spelled K-R-A-U-S-S, I think it's German, but I don't really know how to pronounce it. Krauss, thank you. So Lawrence Krauss pretty much said that we're an accident, and it hurts, but it's not so bad when you think about it. When meteors come crashing and somehow water gets formed and somehow then there's bacteria and then we evolved, and that's grand in my opinion. I think that it helps us to believe that there is no meaning. If we were an accident, maybe there was no overall meaning. If you look at it cosmologically, embarrassing moments, they can be covered up by just simply saying a physicist says that we are a cosmological accident, right? Like, you don't turn in your paper. Accident. Sorry, I wasn't meant to be born. I didn't know I was supposed to be here. There's no meaning to this anyway. Why do your paper? My put up some red flags for an English professor, maybe even your math professor, but I guarantee you your philosophy teacher will probably like it. But also, if you spill coffee on your blouse, you can use it as that too. It would be, kind of a great save. I believe in a healthy balance, however, between nothing and everything. So if you're a little hesitant to just kind of denouncing and relinquishing the power that there's something that we're striving for at the end of the tunnel, I recommend subjectivism. Subjectivism can be defined as meaning in life varies depending on person to person, as well as their mental state. So life in knows so many words, it's kind of like how Barnes & Noble's. Since we're thinking about life in the terms of books, Barnes & Noble doesn't have just one kind of book. So why should we have one set meaning for each person that everyone has to follow by? I might not think of my only reason to exist is to be a parent, but somebody else might think so. But who's to say that that's wrong? It might not be wrong, it's just not mine. When we let go of that notion that life must all share the same cohesive meaning to each and every single one of us, do we not in turn open ourselves up to be greater fulfilled? Because happiness, success, accomplishments, those are all words that give us a deep sense of satisfaction. And those are all words that have nothing to do with why we are here. So if those words that give us the satisfaction of being here are for nothing, does life in turn have to mean something then? Because I think it would mean nothing. One of my actual favorite quotes, that it's not really a quote, but it's a slew of words. It's semper ad meliora, which is Latin actually for towards better things. I live by that on a day-to-day basis. I don't necessarily know if there is no meaning in life, but I do know that life can be lived in the idea of constantly going towards better things. Is it not a happier ending then to constantly strive towards better things, yes? So, with that being said, today I've spoken to you a little bit about Kierkegaard and how he was a Christian but still had nihilistic views. Why science is real life, which is we're just a cosmological accident. Happy cosmological accident nonetheless. And, a little bit more about subjectivism. So, I will leave you with Kierkegaard's question of the day. What, if anything, is the meaning of life? Thank you.